Today I'm going to do a fun, soft coral monochromatic makeup look, which is all about soft, warm tones that evoke a nostalgic and vintage feel. A lot of the 70s makeup look is all about coral shades, and they were quite monochromatic as well. Doing a coral makeup on a deep skin tone can be absolutely stunning. Coral is such a versatile shade and can really pop against deeper complexions. It took me a while to warm up to coral. I wasn't confident that I could carry coral, and one of my mates from Lebanon, she was my housemate as well, who taught me that coral was the most beautiful color on a deep skin tone. So for the foundation, I've used the Shiseido. This is in the shade 420. This is the Synchro Skin Radiant Lifting Foundation. And this is more of a tint, so it's very light. The shade is slightly darker for me, and this is my summer shade, and we are going into autumn, spring and winter. My skin does get lighter. So the key to this look is the foundation that perfectly matches your skin tone for a flawless base. And if you want a bit of a glow, use a dewy foundation or a skin tint. In the 70s, makeup often had a fresh, natural look with soft coverage. So that's why I've chosen this tint. And just blend that in really well, because creating a flawless base is what makes or breaks a makeup look. And I have spent most of my time in blending the foundation onto my skin. I often don't show you the whole video because it would take an hour or so for me to create this look normally, and I would break it down to a few important parts while editing it. So I'm using a brush as my skin is well moisturized, and skin prep prior to a foundation is important as well, as that's what makes the difference when you blend the foundation and it looks like your skin. For the concealer, I've used the MAC Cosmetics Studio Fix 24-Hour Smooth Wear Concealer. This is closer to my skin tone. This is NC42. And then I've also added the L'Oreal Accord Parfait Color Correcting Concealer. This is in the shade 6N, which is 2 shades lighter to my skin tone, so that it can brighten the central parts of my face and the corners where it needs a little bit of brightening and highlighting. This also acts as a highlighter as well. My most common problem area is the corner of my mouth, which is a common problem for most deep skin tone people. And brightening the center of the face is key as well. For the bronzer, I've used the Fenty Beauty Cream Bronzer, which is a Cheeks Out Freestyle Cream Bronzer, and this is in the shade 05 Teddy. This is a very easily blendable dewy bronzer. So I've tried to keep most of my makeup products that I've used today quite bronzy, dewy, as the finish I'm going for is a dewy finish. Blending the bronzer, which I'm using its contour as well, is important. I am using a very thin brush to do that. I've recently purchased, this is not the Morphe, I recently purchased the Morphe brush sets, and they're so amazing. I purchased the eyeshadow set. I want to buy the whole face set as well. They're lovely. I've always loved Morphe brush sets. I think I've had them for the past 10 years, and they're my most favorite brush sets. I do usually dry the concealer and highlighter before I blend it in, because that gives a much more evened out coverage. Take your time when you blend the concealer in, and do it to the areas that you want to restrict it to. So as you can see, I'm restricting it to closer to my nose, parallel to my nose, just under my eyes and outer corners of my lips, and just underneath where I've bronzed, so that you can highlight that bronzed area. I do take my time to do this blending. And the bronzer, which we hadn't blended in yet, I'm just using the same old brush I used, and just blending that in. So using a golden highlighter is also important to create this look. I would use that on the cheekbones, on the cupid's bow, and on the nose, along with the blush as well. I was so excited to do this look today because this has been something that had taken time for me to gain confidence that I could carry it. And for the eyes, before applying the eyeshadow, you want an even skin tone, especially my uneven pigmented eyelids do need concealer on them. And I've used the two concealers to blend it in and give it the same skin tone as the rest of my face. Blend well before you move on to the next step. I do these days use a powder eyeshadow as my contour on top of that cream, just to make sure it stays in place, especially because I wear glasses sometimes, because I'm not a very contact lens friendly person. I do get infections often and I don't like them. And I know someone suggested that I wear contact lenses, colored. They look stunning on me. I love the honey color ones, but they just irritate and dry my eyes. I do need time to sink that whole concept in. Maybe when I'm, running out of ideas, I might think about it. But for now, I don't want to wear any lens. They do give me eye infections. How much ever I make sure my hands are clean, they just irritate my eyes, and by the end of the day I have a conjunctivitis or inflammation of the eyes. Then I'm just using that same L'Oreal True Match foundation and the center of my face. This concealer, this concealer has 1.5% hyaluronic acid and caffeine in it, which are all fantastic products. The caffeine actually helps you tighten your skin. So using a small brush to blend that in makes sure that the contour is perfect. Most often, makeup artists, if you look at their videos, they don't use big brushes for any of the products except for foundation. Everything else they use smaller brushes, and it gives you the opportunity to be finicky and perfect your finish. It may take time, but it's worth doing with a smaller brush. And then I'm going back again and blending all of the contour and bronzer in. I'm using my MAC Cosmetics translucent powder. This is mineralized foundation loose powder. It's got a little bit of warm tone to it. That's why I'm using this powder instead of my usual loose powders. I do want a bit of warmth on my face, and hence the choice of the foundation and the loose powder. I'm using a brush as I'm using a very thin coating of the powder. The less the better, especially on skin that has got pores. When you have large pores like me, you don't want to apply a lot of powder because the powder settle into your pores and make them look exaggerated. I don't believe that primer does a lot. I think if you do a good skin prep, that works equally well, and you don't need to waste money on primer because I've not seen a lot of benefit from them, to be honest. And for the Fenty Beauty Cheeks Out cream blush in the shade Peach Face, and I love this blush because as I'm getting older, I like blushes that are not highly pigmented because it's easier to blend into my skin and give it that subtle look. As I more and more prefer the subtle blushed up look. I used to be a blush, the more the blush, the better person, but as I'm getting older, I prefer the subtle blush look because I think it looks more classy. You can see how beautiful that looks on the skin and it sits seamlessly. I prefer the Fenty cream blush over the liquid blush from Rare Beauty just because of the way it lasts and how it looks on my skin. And I'm also using the Milani Baked Powder Blush, and it's in the shade Rose Doro 02. It's one of those baked shimmery blushes just in the area where I want to have a little bit more glitter to it. The peach blush applied to the apples of the cheeks give it a very soft flush of color that matches the overall theme of the look. Coral blush with a hint of gold or orange undertone, just like the Milani, can complement deep skin tones beautifully. And for the eyeshadow, I've used the ColourPop Coarse to Coral eyeshadow palette, and this is a beautiful pressed powder palette. I love this palette. And for the base, I've used a shade called Angel Fish as the base, and it's a very beautiful coral color that is quite muted and at the same time gives you that pop of color. As this is a monochromatic look, starting with a coral shade for the eyelids is important. I chose this rich coral with hints of orange in it for a dramatic effect. Deep tones like burnt orange or rusty coral work well in the crease to create depth, and for that I would be using the shade Drop Off from the same palette as well. And blend that well. So this is the Morphe Cosmetics brush I was talking about. And for the eyeliner, I am going to line the lower lash line. Someone did mention that, lining the lower lash line does make you age. I don't believe if you do the brown, it does. So this is the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil in the shade Whiskey. This is a new product and it's quite easy to use. It blends well and it's a very cool tone. Because the brown enhances the coral tones while keeping the look balanced, I do smudge it in because a soft smudged eyeliner can give you a more natural 70s inspired vibe. So now just blending that tint to give it a very natural contour. And then I'm applying the shimmer, it's called the Keys, from the same palette into the inner corners of my eyes to brighten the inner corners. This blends well with the vibe of the look, as overall vibe is fresh, soft and sun-kissed. For the lip liner, I'm using the She Glam Love Stained Lip Tint Marker. This is in the shade Pure Love. This is a coral red sort of lip liner and it's perfect as it's quite subtle. This stays long on the lips and that's why I like this lip liner. For deep skin tones, coral shades like burnt coral, tangerine, or deep peachy orange are great choices. Look for lipsticks or glosses with satin or creamy finish to keep the look soft and hydrated. For the lipstick, I'm using the Colorstay Matte Light Crayon in the shade She's Fly, and I've used the Mecca Max Lash Curler. This is a very good lash curler. It cost me $16 and it works very well. And for the mascara, I've used the Maybelline. For the setting spray, I've used the Fresh Face Fixation Setting Spray from Barry M Cosmetics. This keeps my makeup in place. I'm just going to dry that with my fan. The brows, I have kept it well shaped and defined. As I like a natural look, I'm not going to add any more brow pencil to it. On the lip, I'm also going to apply the pH Bomb Lip and Cheek Oil from Revolution Cosmetics. I love this product as it gives a little bit of a plumping effect to my lips. I did apply the MP Cosmetics Pout Plumper, which plums my lip. As you can see what a difference it's made. I did apply and then take it off because the shade I have is not a coral shade. So that is the finished look. I'm giving that 30 seconds that you guys had requested. So you can see the whole look and the finish. And please do continue to support my videos. Please like and share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for your ongoing support. Please continue to keep watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this deep glowy look. Thank you.